Okay, this is part 2 of the reading for HB. I had to pause there for a moment, but all the cards are laid out. So, you remember that for HB herself, we had the moon. Now, when the moon represents a person to me, it represents a really deeply spiritual person, represents somebody who's very sensitive, but it also, for me, represents somebody very hormonal, very up and down, probably somebody who suffers with PMT, somebody who has good days and bad days. I think for women, we're all very similar in this respect, but some women are more influenced by their hormones and by the moon cycles than others. And this is somebody who's very deep thinking. So, I often see the moon representing women who've come for tarot readings, partly because I think that if you show us the moon as a woman, you're probably very much the sort of woman who would have a tarot reading. Secondly, I asked for where she's at now, and this is an incredibly positive card in regard to one of the questions that she's asked me. This is the sun. The sun is always about optimism and positivity. What's warmer and happier and more cheerful than the sunshine? It's also quite a vulnerable card. Shows somebody who's perhaps a little bit scared and a little bit apprehensive to me. But it also very much represents optimism around children and a childlike positivity. And I think given that HB has asked me about a child particularly, I think this suggests a lot of warmth and positivity about the outcome of that situation. Obviously, on these readings, my client's anonymous, and I don't want to reveal too much of their personal circumstances. I don't know a great deal. I have about 4 lines of text as a Facebook message to do this reading from, but they're specific questions. In regard to the situation with the child, the first thing I've got is the 5 of Pentacles. And I take my cards in groups of 3s for questions. So the 5 of Pentacles, I have the 9 of Wands, which is inverted, and I have the Death card. This deck, the Low Scarabeo that I'm working with, the second deck, that is a full deck that I have here of 78 cards. So I'm looking at these cards and I think, first of all, the 9 of Wands tells me that the situation is very complex and complicated. And it also tells me that a great deal of emotion has been invested into this. The 5 of Pentacles suggests to me that a lot of energy, a lot of time, perhaps even a lot of money has been invested into this situation. And what worries me about it now is that there's a feeling of is it worth it? Even though it's so important emotionally to this client. On the end of here we have the Death card. The Death card heralds a massive change. The Death card is never about dying. It never predicts death. What it does is tell us that there's change. Death is about winter time. It's like everything's cold, and we can see that the 5 of Pentacles is quite a cold card there too with the snow. Everything's cold, everything seems dead at the moment for this client. This situation with her child seems hopeless to her at the moment. But the Death card always tells us that big change is on the way. Spring is coming, and spring is new hope, new life, new beginnings. So I actually think that this client has enormous possibilities of getting what she wants here for an outcome. She has enormous positivity and potential around her with the combination of the Sun here and the Death card here. I think that a positive outcome for this situation is likely and that big changes will be. But we do have some complications to come first, and we know that. But she's going to have to put her full energy, time and effort into it for longer. And emotionally this is going to be very draining for her. And as long as she's aware of that, she can succeed. Generally, life is very up and down at the moment for this client. The 2 of Wands here tells me that she will be either travelling or extending her knowledge in some way, growing and developing. So I anticipate that this girl is going to college, maybe doing a course, maybe she's expanding her friendship circles, maybe she's actually travelling for something. It could also be something like a new job, but it tells me that her horizons are broadening, her life is broadening. At the same time, as well as all this positivity, she also feels times of despair. And we've got the 9 of Swords here. And it's interesting about these 2 3s because we have the 9 of Swords in the centre of this one and the 9 of Wands at the centre of this one. Nines are really very interesting because 9 tells us you're nearly there. You're nearly there. 9 is nearly 10. 10's like going through the gateway. 9 is nearly there. This 9 tells us that at times she will feel massive periods of despair, periods of feeling down and dark. And actually, though, she has nothing to worry about. Really, although it's tough at times, emotionally tough, she will succeed. The swords on the wall here represent battles that she's already won. She will succeed. She will do well. Everything's going to be okay. And the Ace of Wands on the end here tells us even more. It tells us that she's got fantastic ideas to come, that she'll be thinking of things to do and doing them, putting plans into action. This is a very, very positive future. There are times when she'll feel down and dark, but it's very positive. Finally, in respect of her love life, it does seem to me that it's possible that there's 2 men shown here. These could be past relationships. They could be people coming in at the moment. We have the Knight of Swords and we have the Knight of Wands. And I actually think that in the near future, this girl will actually be looking at possibly having 2 men that are interested in her. I suspect that one is much more loving and genuine and, will actually give her what she wants much more than the other. And it's going to be a careful choice. What I think she's got to think about when we look at the Four of Cups here, I think what she'll have to think about is what's gone before. And she needs to remember that past relationships that have gone wrong, what those lessons learned were. What have you learned from your past relationships? And what can you put into practice when you're choosing a prospective partner? So I think what this is kind of saying to HB is maybe you need to look at a different type of man. Maybe you need to look at a different type of relationship. So I think that she may have had a habit of going for types of men that really don't suit her and that really let her down. And that is why she's been through so much emotional turmoil and upheaval. And it's time to go for a different sort. And it's very important, I think at times to recognise the lessons that we've learned in life and move forward. Coming back to perhaps one of the most important things that HB asked me. This is the card for her mum. Her mum's passed away and she wants to know that she's okay. This is the Hermit. She also wants to know if she has any messages for her daughter. I think first things first, her mum is absolutely fine, okay? There is nothing here to indicate to the contrary. The card, the Hermit, is very careful, very considered. You could regard it as having a great deal of wisdom. I imagine that HB misses her mum's advice and guidance greatly. And perhaps she feels scared now to move forward without that from her mum. But her mum is there guiding her. Her mum will help her. If she thinks of her mum as like the light that's guiding her on the dark paths, I think she won't go far wrong at all. I really like this combination. The Seven of Pentacles is the other card. That's the card that leapt out. And as I was asked for a message from somebody who's departed, then I have to say that a card that jumps out then is a card that I will take that way. And this is a card about investing in the future. It says, come on, do your best. Do what you can. Work towards the future. Put your time and effort and energy in. And it's really saying what the cards are saying here. Make sure that you plan and make sure that you work hard to make the future the best it can be. And I think her mum will guide her every step of the way, I really do. I feel like her mum's like a guardian angel watching over her. And I actually have no worries for HB. I think that she will go through some difficult times. I think she will go through some nights where she gets sleepless perhaps. I think she will go through some anguish and some anxiety. But fundamentally, over the next few months, and I think particularly after Christmas and through springtime, which I pick up from the Death card, I think we will see her future really taking a turn for the positive and actually a lot of these things coming together, which is fantastic.